All right, welcome to the Esports Classroom Podcast. This is going to be episode 5 in our first foray outside of Iowa. So I'm going to let our guests introduce themselves. So, Mike, if you want to just tell everybody who you are, where you're at, what your connection is to esports.
My name is Mike Dahle. I am the executive director of the Wisconsin High School Esports Association. I've been in this role leading the nonprofit for 7 years now, 8 years, and I've been in scholastic esports for a decade.
So, were you a high school coach at any time, or before you got into that, or how'd you get started in esports?
Uh, I say my origin story within this has been that I started teaching in 2012, and Twitch started to become a really popular thing. And I took interest in what the kids were doing, and I was like, "What are you doing? Like, what are you watching?" They're like, "Oh, it's League of Legends," and I'm like, "Okay, what is that?" And so, rather than correct the behavior, I took an interest in what they were doing, and I started just doing some random Google searching, and I found that there was the high school star league, and I was like, do y'all want to play in this?" And they're like, "Yes." I was like, okay. So, and that kind of kickstarted everything. So, um, I took an interest in what they were doing, and then all of a sudden, I ended up playing League of Legends for like 9 years myself. So, so they brought me back into the gaming sphere, basically.
That is a game I tried. I tried to play, but I don't know. Maybe it's my attention, lack of that, that and Smite. I really did try to learn them. Just, I guess I don't have the focus for some of the bigger games. I think that are great and they're really intense. We have like a few kids interested in my school, but not a ton, which is why we have not fielded a team in either of those titles.
Yeah, unfortunately, we had to drop League of Legends from the state of Wisconsin. We were down to like 13 teams, and
Yep.
a lot of the teams that were playing were like brand new players, and it's a very tough game if you're a brand new player, and if you don't have proper I guess coaching in order to help you learn the ins and outs, the micro and macro of the game.
Yep.
It's daunting. Um, Even as somebody that again has like 9 years experience, there's so many new characters that come out all the time, and it's like, well, this interacts with this, and then there was this buff and this nerf and this
Yep.
rework, and like if you don't keep up with it, it's you're out of touch pretty quick sometimes.
And I think a lot of people don't get that the complexity of some of these games because they know when we the high school, the Iowa League, decided to add Smite, all the coaches like that summer before, not all the coaches, but a good number of us, we started playing amongst us to learn the game for those who hadn't played it before. And pretty much, I think a lot of people were taking notes and learning from those who had a lot of experience. It was a lot to take on, and I think a lot of people don't get that about some of these games. They think you just pick them up and play right away, but yet there's so much depth and like there's a lot of cognition that has to go into how you play the games.
One thing that I have invested is a lot of my time into these games as well. So my personal goal has been to reach at least gold rank in every single game that we offer for esports. I'm currently grinding Valorant right now
Yep.
as my game that I'm trying to get better at. Currently bronze two, but it's one of those things to where I watch pro play. I
Yep.
will like occasionally watch some streamers or breakdowns of like, here's what you're doing wrong, here's some training drills. Like I warm up for 20 to 30 minutes before I even go into an actual game against other players, and like I'm working on 4 or 5 different mechanics for 5 minutes like I would free throws. So and
Yep.
then I go into a game and I have a spreadsheet where I track all my statistics, my headshots, my KD, my communication, and like it's a reflective process.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of what we want our students to be able to do too. They're not just jumping into game after game. I talk with the kids like we're playing Smash right now as our fall season. I'm like, guys, I've been playing Smash before you're born, but you guys are focusing on skills that we never talked about. Like, I remember in college playing it with my friends. We did not talk about teching. We did not talk about Nair. We didn't talk about any of those skills. We're just making fun of each other while we're playing. And there's a big gap between like people who can play casually and people who really take it serious.
Yes, yes, and knowing, especially for something like Smash, the weight classes, the even the dimensions of the stages that you're playing, and where
Yep.
the the like the SD zone is, or like the destruction zone on the map, and Yeah, there's so much that goes into it. And I know I had kids that could tell me the frame rates and the frame
Yep.
data. Like that's a 2 frame, that's a 3 frame. And I'm like, I don't know what that means, but you do. So that's awesome. Like,
Yeah.
so
That's
that
I take advantage of those kids too, so they can coach all the other players too. I got a senior this year who just joined us, and he's been sharing a ton of knowledge with everybody.
the other one that cracks me up always is Mario Kart, where
Yeah.
people accuse others of hacking. And it's like, no, those are just shortcuts, man.
Yep.
Like you're playing the game at a certain competitive level, and these people are on this level way up here.
Yep.
And that's how it's played at a high competitive level. It's an entirely different game.
Yeah, two of my former players were ranked 1 and 2 nationally in Mario Kart at Marshalltown Community College after they were with us, and they won a state title twice with us. Well, I was there and I switched schools, but yeah, they just watching them on time trials, like they would get to the nanosecond just about turns and everything like that, and they spent a lot of time in it. I mean, it's paid off. I mean, they've had national championships to count for that. So Wisconsin League seems very similar to Iowa's league. So you guys have 3 seasons, right? Fall, winter, and spring. What games are you guys playing right now in the fall?
We are Smash Brothers and Overwatch as our two main titles.
Same with us. With Smash is fall for us. Overwatch we get to in winter. So
Winter for us is Rocket League, Fortnite, and Marvel Rivals this year, and then spring is going to be Valorant and Mario Kart.
yep, actually same titles for us in the spring: Mario Kart and Valorant. How are you guys doing Fortnite? Because that was something as a state Iowa we don't do in our state league for varsity.
We took advantage of the spectator accounts when Epic had that program. So we do build and zero build.
Okay.
So like right now we have like club on Mondays, and we're doing duos zero build. For varsity, we're doing trios build. And so it's just one of those things to where that's what this like the pro scene was using. And so we're
Yep.
like, we're gonna try to mirror that as much as possible. And then too, once zero build came out, the kids were like, "Can we do this too?" And it's like,
Yep.
"Yes, yep, that's fine," because it's an entirely different game too. Again, at a high level, it's a much different type of play style too.
Yeah, I do think there's a ton of interest still. I get kids always coming up to ask me a couple games, and that's always one of the games that they ask about. I will say I played the first season of Fortnite, so I played with my son for the longest time because he wanted to play it, so that's why I played it. I have not played it in a while. The Simpsons brought me back this last week to play. I had to play a little bit, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I died so quickly. So I might have to, put some more time back into that if I get some free time this weekend.
I play on like the old man hours. I've been playing at like 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. before
Yep.
I report for work. So I hear you.
Yeah. I think I find time when the kids aren't playing, and that'll probably be the best time for me to play. Um, so, what are some of the challenges you've seen from your perspective for esports that they have to face in order to either a school to get this going or just in general for the state league?
Um, I think the biggest things that we've seen with some of our changes here too is if you look at the esports industry as a whole, like everybody's talking sustainability and how can we make this sustainable. And this year we made a move and we changed kind of how our pricing worked in the state to allow me to do this full time. It comes with a lot of difficult conversations that we're having with school districts
Yep.
because um, everybody knows funding is very difficult, especially after the budget window has closed.
Hmm.
And I've been approaching it to where like we have a relationship, right? We have a rapport, and like I don't want to create barriers. I still want accessibility, but the idea is like we had to find a way in order to make this happen if we wanted this to keep going and growing.
Yep.
And I think that's the hardest part is we kind of hit that threshold to where this is no longer something that can just be a volunteer position because of the hours that it was taking. The PTO that was having to be used or the occasional sick day that was being used so that way I
Yep.
could focus on esports stuff rather than my day-to-day job at my school district. And so um, Yeah, I think a lot of states have kind of gotten to that point too, to where there's only so much that we can do, and as volunteers. And I know it's not easy to ask that. Um, as far as from schools sides of it too, is access to PCs
Yep.
has been crazy. Like we made a massive shift because of COVID, and we got rid of PC labs, and we moved everything to Chromebooks because of accessibility and cost, um, and now trying to get some of those higher end machines back in districts has been a struggle. Getting them to work on school networks has been a trouble, especially for something like Valorant, where you need like secure boot.
Yep.
And kernel level access on those machines. And there are IT directors that are like, no, nope, not on my network. So um, it's again like having that relationship that's there to be like, this is how we're going to do it safely. Here's the preparedness that we're doing to make sure that it's not a vulnerability, and convincing people that it's okay to allow this
Yep.
has
Yeah, I
been.
think I was just
Go
going to
ahead.
say you've hit a lot of the big points. I think that I hear too, especially the funding thing's big. I know, and that's a big difference. I think Wisconsin is where Iowa's heading, at least in terms of our state league. Our state league keeps growing, and there's still volunteers right now, but I'm not sure how much longer that's going to last. I give all of our board, our exec for the Iowa League, a lot of credit for all the work they put into it. Um, and I haven't been able to devote the time to that because I'm involved in so many other things. So I know they do a great job with that. And then you talk about the computer part, and that has been one of we've had a couple districts in Iowa that have been hit with, um, they got hit with, ransomware, and then the districts have to lock everything down. And that hit the esports then because they didn't want the Windows PCs on the network. I think some of our Cedar Rapids schools, they're kind of having to figure that out because they were a big district that got hit by that. And that changed the whole landscape for them because it went from having some openness to, all right, now we have to lock everything down. Now, what does that mean for esports computers? Um,
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually in the district I'm in right now. I was actually the former tech director at one point. And so I had a really good connection with the tech team because some of them worked for me. So they were able to get me set up more easily than I know some of our other districts have had that. Um,
And then there are districts too that use like third party out of district services too. It's like
yep,
a lot of our rural schools, to where maybe they only have IT services on site 1 day a week
yep,
or 2 days a week, and if all of a sudden an update happens or something crashes, well, you better hope that's the day that IT's on site. Otherwise, see you next week.
yep.
And that's just how it is though. So
Yeah, last year we ran into a network issue that took like over a month to fix, and that really impacted esports. And we lost all the settings that was giving me great access, especially for the Nintendo setups because I was on NAT Type A, which is the best, and then all of a sudden I went to NAT Type C, which not good. And so it took some work to get that back, and
yeah.
even now I'm at a B, which mostly works. Like 90% of the time. Then there's a random school like we scrimmaged with this week. I'm like, oh, well, we can't connect with each other. Awesome. Uh, that's another thing I think people don't get. So you guys have, I'll go back to the state league. So you guys have 3 seasons, just kind of like us, regular season playoffs, and then an in-person state tournament, correct?
Yep. Yep. We do 3 in-person state tournaments for each of the games. So,
I was actually looking like, so you guys have one in Eau Claire, Wisconsin.
yep. Coming up December 5th and 6th. And then we're going to UW Green Bay for the first time in
Huh?
February. And then Wisconsin Lutheran College is going to host us in the spring. And so um, we've been very lucky that we've been able to leverage our collegiate system to host these as well. But again, as this continues to grow, like it's something that has to be considered. Does it move to like a 2 day event? Does
Yep.
it move to another conference center where now we're renting PCs and shipping them in? And um, I've seen some of the awesome work that like some of the other states are doing, to where they use a school gymnasium and they have all the power strips and cords and everything, and I'm like, that's incredible. But I've
Yep.
also seen some of the videos of what it takes to set those up, and it's a team, it's a village
Yep.
to do some of those things. And that's uh, I
Yeah.
don't know how they can do some of it sometimes.
Yeah, and then once you get into the renting facilities, that's always a little bit extra little problem because the cost can go up quickly. I've seen that a lot with a lot of education conferences. They've kind of had trouble with costs just to rent a space because that's one thing that's grown. We in Iowa, we do it at one location every season in Marshalltown. Actually, the city kind of bought a old theater, and so we actually have these two big rooms in there, and they do rent out. I think Gravity Gaming takes care of
Hmm.
the computers. We have a good connection with Bytespeed, and then they work with the local community college there to also do a lot of the live streaming and all that. It works out well, but again, we don't have a lot of spares, and so we had one day a computer power supply blew up, and then also we had to figure out how to hold the match when you could only have four computers on this one side. Uh, so there's a lot of fun that goes into that too.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, we've moved computers into other rooms and HVAC system wasn't prepared for
Yep.
those or the wall outlets couldn't handle them and uh, breakers were being flipped and that guy's out 2 hours away from campus with a key and yeah, I've we could fill a whole episode of just things that have gone wrong at
Yeah.
state tournaments.
I think my team is the bad luck because it always happens around us. Yeah, the Heat one. I think our first time we hosted, had our in person state tournament. That was the problem. We figured out right away. Like, luckily it was winter, so like opening doors to get that cold air in. Which is why I also tell my players that they have to put on deodorant before they get into the van because that little stereotype about gamers can be
Yep.
true sometimes.
Yep.
So especially because I know how hot it can get in there. So what are some of the biggest wins you've seen, or like if you're sharing with other people, like those biggest, like these are the greatest things I've seen in esports, or why they should do esports?
I mean, I guess from multiple different lenses. I've seen it from the school district impact, some of the research that's starting to come out as far as the financial recoupment of attendance and discipline and GPA and all that because of the population that it serves that isn't typically connected to anything else in the school district. I've seen it from that lens. I've seen it from parent perspectives to where I have a few of those emails saved to where it's like, thank you for doing this. This was the best thing for my kid for the last 4 years.
Yep.
And all of those like feel good emails and stories. I've seen it from my student perspectives, from the shy incoming individual or somebody that was very reserved and quiet to being a full blown leader on the team. To then even myself, like going to a brand new school. And within, a month, you would have thought I was teaching there for 10 years because of the
Yep.
rapport that I had with the students. And even to the point to where like I still stay in contact with a lot of our alumni that I've had over the years. And I still, it's funny, I run into one of my students from back in like 2016. I run into his mom every once in a while at some conferences, and she always takes a picture with me and sends it to him. And so it's just one of those, it's done a lot of good for me,
Yep.
um, personally, professionally. And I think the value that it can bring can only go up if we keep supporting this.
Yep. I agree with you 100%. I always say esports is the best thing I've done, and this is my 22nd year of education. So yeah. What else? I'm gonna make sure you get a chance to share anything you want or say. I know we're kind of getting to that end of that time I wanted to go.
I I, I think esports has taught me a lot, especially I will say this year too, and working with a number of districts. I think we want to keep moving that needle a little bit further and further. And I think there's some really good things that are coming out. I've been watching like the NACAD level one certificate that's starting to
Yep.
come out. The collegiate system, the voice, talking about like program standards for what college programs should look like. Um, I think people underestimate that this is still in its infancy. this has really only been like blowing up since like 2012, 2014.
Yeah.
And we can't compare this to traditional sports because they have 120 years of tradition, community involvement, and people have invested their lives to certain sports, and we just aren't there yet, right? That
Yep.
needle will keep moving, but um, progress is often slow. We want to run, but it's got to walk,
Yep.
and sometimes change is necessary. Change can be scary, but it has to be done sometimes. So,
Yeah, the amount of change I've seen. This is only my 6th year in esports, and just thinking about like how many of my students have scholarship offers or have gotten those, whereas we didn't get that the first couple of years, and then just seeing a whole shift in really what's available out there for kids around esports.
yep.
Um, that's kind of like why I like going to conferences and stuff because I get to hear from other people about what they're seeing in their part of the country.
It's one of those things too, to where like as a CTE coordinator,
Hmm.
who's now or who spent a lot of time doing like youth apprenticeship and career based learning experiences, like that's then that next needle that I think is an easy push to add more value to our programs, getting those speakers to come to our programs. I'd love collegiate directors to start coming
Yep.
out to schools and talking to kids in person, not just sending a join our Discord link. Like actually developing a relationship with school districts within a 50-mile radius of your college, because chances are those are going to be your kids that are coming there anyways. Um, and again, just some of those small check boxes that we're already doing our academic and career planning stuff in the classroom. It's like, how can we connect that too with esports
Yep.
or even CTSOs, like Skills USA, FBLA, DECA? Like,
Yep.
cool, kids are doing awesome thing with their esports program, but it's also a project for this. You could go to state
Hmm.
twice for the same thing that you're already doing. Why not? So
Yep.
um, that's been my soapbox this year, is like, how can we connect this and make more career opportunities for our students? So
Yep.
that's my mission this year, is to make that connection.
Yeah, part of my role as instructional coach is I work a lot with our CTE department. So we've been talking a lot about, CTSOs a lot and what we're missing, the opportunities. I think I need to refocus them on that, even though I steal one of their computer labs for our PC games. Not bought with Perkins money, so I'm okay there. So we're gonna end kind of like the question. Like, took me a couple times. Like, wasn't asking the first couple guests this question, but like, what game are you currently playing the most, and what's your favorite game of all time?
I've been grinding Valorant.
Yep.
um, I've also been playing a lot of Fortnite lately myself too, with the Simpsons pass. um, all time has it's Diablo 2.
Huh?
Um, I don't play any PvE games except for Diablo 2 for whatever reason. And so that's been since 2001, I think Diablo 2 came out. And so that's been 24 years of playing the same game. Like sometimes I just get burnt out of esports
Yep.
stuff, and I'm like, I'm going to go turn my mind off, and I'm going to go pick up my sorceress and just run Magic Find, and do Mephisto runs for 2 hours. And that's it. So,
Yep. I
uh,
definitely get that about not playing the esport titles because sometimes you need a break, right?
I can also turn my brain off and play FIFA manager mode for hours on end.
Yep.
Again, don't know why, but there's two games that, for whatever reason, I could play those for hours on end, and all of a sudden be like, oh, I lost a lot of time today.
Yep.
So
All right. Well, I want to thank you again. I might have to have you on again. I think we may have to get some other statewide people all on at the same time. Um, but thank you again. I'm actually going to consider coming up to the Wisconsin state tournament because I want to see the other state tournaments in action. Uh, that's not too far
it's
of a drive. I go up to Minnesota often, so I'll just take a right turn.
it's at their Geek Con, so it is a
Ooh.
cosplay convention. So
Oh,
you have to come in character. That's my only stipulation. So
I'll have to figure that part out. That one might be a little more difficult. So, all right. Well, thank you. And everybody listening or watching, hopefully stay tuned for more episodes as they come out. Well, thank you.
no problem. That was fun.